You have a quote that really sums up many of our brothers and sisters who struggle with self-worth. I heard you say once, one who thinks little of themselves thinks very little of their chances. One, where you getting these lyrics from? You make these up as you go, or are you like purposely trying to get them?
It's accidentally on purpose. Yeah. But I'll just say this, that whenever you are a teacher, the best way that you can teach is the way you have to learn. And the way that I had to learn and have to learn is it has to have some kind of rhythm to it that makes it easy for me to retain it and recall it. So because that's the way that I had to learn, I think by studying, I'm constantly always trying to put something into some rhythm or rhyme so that I can continue to know the reason. And as a result of that, it ends up coming out in the teachings. And for the most part, I'm learning now, later in life, that almost all the great teachers always spoke in parables and metaphors, because it allows you to make a simple statement that has more breadth and depth to it, that you can say a little but still say a lot. So that's kind of, the way it happened. That's why I say accidentally on purpose. I think that's just the way that God made my brain to learn. And I guess many others' brains is the same, because when I say it like that, people, they too retain it, and it helps them as well.
All right, cool. And I want to touch on the quote in regards to self-worth. It seems to be a humongous issue in our community, right? People just don't believe they're worthy of anything. They don't feel they're worthy of success. We have a lot of self-sabotage in our community, right? What advice would you give to the viewers out there who are struggling with self-worth and struggle with believing that they can do great things?
Well, again, we said it a little earlier, something that we brought out to the brothers in the general penitentiary in Jamaica that had stick and stay with them. And I was trying to inform them this. I said, do not allow your self-image or any other perceptions to be given or taught to you by non-scriptural concepts. So when you think self-worth, self-worth has to come from what God said about you. And once you take on a scriptural concept of self, then you start saying, wait a minute, I'm in the image and the likeness of God. Well, if I'm in the image and likeness of God, that means that everything that's true about God is true about me. If I'm in the image and likeness of God, that means when God looks at me, he sees himself. Well, when I look at myself, I should see God. If I'm in the image and likeness of God, I'm not a duplicate of God, I'm a replica of God. Duplicate would just be image, meaning I look like, but replica, which means I look like, in likeness, I got the power and the function of what I'm a copy of. So whatever God can do, I can do. So when you have that kind of self-image and self-concept, that produces self-worth. Where we're going wrong is most people have mistaken self-esteem for self-worth. And there's a difference between self-esteem and self-worth. Self-esteem is what you think about yourself based off of how other people see you. But self-worth is what you think about yourself based off of what God said about you and how you see your own self. So once you come into acceptance, that I'm not accepting any other definition of myself other than a scriptural concept. What God said about me is true. And as long as I know I'm operating with integrity, with discipline, I'm doing the best that I can do, striving to be like him, then my self-worth is intact. The root of all of our crime, all of our problems is self-hatred. We've been fed a heavy diet of lies about the black man. And it's so scientifically that there is a synergism of subtle little things that mess up black ability to see itself right. Just think about as children, Tooth Fairy. Look, little white girl. The rainbow shows up. We don't tell the child that the rainbow is the product of the sun that's 93 million miles away, sending a ray of light at 186,000 miles per second, and it begins to penetrate one of the droplets of water that is in the cloud that was formed by the earth, having its water pulled by the moon and gathering 6 miles above civilization. So whenever the 58 facets of light began to shine through the raindrop, it begins to reflect through the raindrop and produce something called a rainbow. We see a rainbow, say, you know, it's a leprechaun, a little white boy. So tooth fairy, little white girl. Leprechaun, don't forget about Santa Claus. So the programming, how do you fall in love? Cupid, a little naked little white baby with some chicken wings on the back, shooting you with an arrow to make you fall in love. These are little play stories that have a real effect on our mind. Because the child now thinks love comes from white people. Money comes from white people. Gold comes from white people. All the gifts are going to come from them. Then you go and you read everything that the adjective black is attached to is always negative. Everything the adjective white is attached to is always positive. You look it up in the dictionary right now, the word black has 120 negative names attached to it. But look up white. 34, all of them positive. Little white lie. See that? Bad guys wear black. Funeral, black. But wedding, you wear white. Angel food cake, chocolate icing. I mean, white cake, white icing. Devil food cake, chocolate cake, chocolate icing. Bad luck, behind the 8 ball. 8 ball, the black ball. Last ball to go in on the table. You knock it in too early, you lose. What knocks all the other balls in? It's the white ball. It's the cue ball. It's bigger, heavier than all the other balls. It puts every other color ball in its place. See, these are subliminal programs. So by the time you get finished with folklore, language, and then multiply that by all the images of the messengers, the warners, the disciples, are all been painted white, then we've been fed self-hatred. So it makes it hard for us to believe in ourselves. So I challenge every black man, woman, and child to start reading about people that look like you, that accomplished great feats in the past. Because what happens is you activate your spiritual peripheral vision. See, physical peripheral vision says, I'm looking at you, but I can see my brothers on both sides. I'm looking at you, but I can see the light here and I can see the TV over there. So spiritual peripheral vision means that the minute that I start looking at someone that accomplished great feats in the past, I began to say to myself, if they can do it, so can I. So that will help us to do it. And then, of course, taking the spiritual concept is the highest thing. You're not just the founder of Timbuktu, the builder of the Nile Valley civilization. You're not just the one that established the city of Atlantis. You're not just the one that built the pyramids. You are the fathers and mothers of all art, science, and civilization. We are the original people of the planet. Everything and everyone came from us. So once you accept that as your own personal self-concept, that I'm not just an inventor or a conqueror, but I am a God, then your self-worth will stay high. And if your brother is your other self, he's a God too. So I'm going to look out for him the same way I will look out for God. And I'm going to look out for myself the same way I'm going to look out for God. I'm going to expect from myself what I expect from God. And when you operate like that, there's nothing you can't be, do, or have. You can be as powerful as you want to be, do whatever you want to do, and have whatever you want to have if you see your self-image through scriptural lenses instead of non-scriptural concepts.
And there's one more thing I want to touch on. Thank you for giving advice on self-worth. Consistency. People struggle with consistency, and you know you need that to achieve anything.
That's
what
right.
advice would you give to people who, so they can just start and stay with it, bro? Because I give thanks to the people who start, right? But they get weeded out real quick because when things get a little rough, you know how that go.
Well, it's the discipline. See, what is discipline? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this. He says, self-discipline is self-love. And where there is no discipline, there is no love. So how do you prove you love yourself? You got to discipline yourself. What is disciplining yourself? It's doing what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like doing it or not. See, self-discipline activates in your brain an override mechanism that whenever it's not fun anymore, it's not new, it don't feel good anymore, it still allows you to maintain an action until you reach your objective. Self-disciplined people, when you self-discipline, you don't quit when you're tired, you quit when you're done. So once you make your mind up, I put my word out here that I'm getting ready to make it happen, you gotta keep working until your word becomes flesh. And one of the things that we say that word is bond, and bond is life. And I shall give my life before my word shall fail. The question was asked, have you not learned your word shall be bound regardless to whom or what? And we answer, yes. So any human being on earth is a whom. Any circumstance that could ever exist is a what. So if my word is going to be bond regardless to whom or what, and I'm willing to give my life before my word shall fail, once I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to be persistent and consistent until I get there, or I'm going to be dead. That's the kind of commitment that one has to express. And if we do that, we'll find that it's a lot easier to do it. I will give you just a little trick. When you have a go-up goal, keep it to yourself. Because there's a whole lot of people that have already punked out on becoming good and great at whatever they're doing. And the minute that you talk to them about it, they're going to try to talk you out of it. So you have to be very careful sharing big ideas with small-minded people. But when you have a give-up goal, don't keep that to yourself. Tell everybody. See, if you say that, look, I'm letting y'all know from here on out, I'm giving up smoking weed. You tell all your partners, I'm letting y'all know I ain't smoking no more. See, right when you think about rolling that blunt, you know that it's a possibility. Even if they're not around, I might see Lil John tomorrow and he gonna ask, hey, how you coming? How you coming with you're not smoking thing? And I don't want to be saying, oh man, I done went on back and started smoking already. So when you have a go-up goal, keep it to yourself. But when you got a give-up goal, share it with other people. And what you'll find is that it adds willpower to your will because you don't want to be embarrassed in front of the people that you know, love, and respect. That will do it. And remember this. They got so many books on how to be successful. 48 laws of this, the 12 habits of this, the 10 rules of so forth, the 33 strategies of so, and it ain't but 2 rules of success. Get to it and stick to it. And if you get to doing it and you stick to doing it, at some point, you're going to make it happen. But you got to have the stick-to-itiveness to go with the get-to-itiveness if you want to get to where you're trying to get in life. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to always be something you feel like doing, but do what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like doing it or not. And it will activate an overriding mechanism in your brain that will allow you to maintain an action long after the excitement has worn off.